Hey guys, what's going on? Baby AO back with another video. Still shaving, but you know we're growing it. We got the 5 o'clock shadow rolling in, so don't worry. We'll get back. Anyway, quick shout out for the video idea. Merm 300 from I don't know State 632 or something like that. He suggested this idea. He wanted to basically know. He wanted me to release a video to kind of talk about how to counter the top lineups in the game. So I will be doing that, but I'm going to expand it so that, kind of newer players or middle of the road players can sort of understand how the heck do you counter combos? How do you win battles by being weaker than somebody? And how do you get through these kind of, log jam or garrisoned bases? So the first things first, when we talk about counters, you have to talk about the troop type. So in general, the game is a rock, paper, scissors type game. You have fighters, you have shooters, and you have vehicles. Vehicles counter fighters, fighters counter shooters, and shooters counter vehicles. It just goes in a wheel or in a circle. Now that's considering that you have the exact same heroes. Like let's say you have 3 basic heroes of fighters and 3 basic orange heroes of vehicles. The vehicles are going to win pretty much flat out, disregarding other conditions like T10 and Bane and parts and stuff like that. Now that plays a huge role. It really does. You'll almost never win if you're just sending fighters at a vehicle squad. You're almost never going to win. So we're not considering strength in terms of like parts, tech, heroes, things like that. Just straight troop to troop. You'll literally never win. Adding on tech and parts and things like that, it makes it a lot more confusing. Not necessarily confusing, but it does kind of differentiate. So if you're significantly stronger than somebody, let's say they have, full golden phantom parts and like no T10 tech. You have full Baneblade set, full golden Baneblade set, full cutting edge tech unlocked. If you send a fighter combo at a vehicle hero, you will win, right? You're just so much more powerful. But let's ignore that condition. And we'll kind of talk about if you're the same level or even if you're weaker than somebody, how to get around that. So first things first, again, you have to consider the troop type. If it's a full vehicle squad, what are you going to send? Shooters. If it's a full shooter squad, you're going to send fighters and so on and so forth. But that's only half the battle. The main part of the battle, once you kind of understand that, is compositional counters. Or more so hero counters, but composite. Like the first row is hero counters, and then the second is even more advanced. It's compositional counters. So let's take this very common lineup right here. Trunkad, Hunk, Tracker, Nomad. This is mainly a shooter-based combo, right? So you have to look at what is this combo doing and what does it want to do, and how do you get around that? How do you beat that, right? Exploit their weakness and win. So generally speaking, when you're talking about how to counter, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So let's say you're in a tile battle or a doomsday war. You need to bust through this, research facility. Let's say this is your tile and this is the enemy base or the enemy alliance center. You need to bust through this. The first person who attacks it doesn't get through. The first thing that they should do is share that battle report. Immediately share that battle report. You'll know exactly what's in here, and you should send an APC depending on what's in there. Sometimes in the heat of battle, you're just sending all these APCs. You don't really care, but you should care. Saving durability is very important, and you, especially in a doomsday battle, you will run out of durability before the other team dies oftentimes in very high level play. So you really need to conserve your durability, and you really want to send attacks that are going to make a difference. So if this building is being reinforced by Hunk, Tracker, Nomad, right? You're not going to want to send organic Heaven's Death Rider. You will lose. Generally speaking, you're going to lose. Or at least you're going to take a significant amount of damage and not deal that much damage back. So what would you want to send? Well, like I said, this is mainly a shooter damage focused squad, right? Hunk is pretty much just there to confuse the enemy. He's just there to give Nomad and Tracker combat speed, and that's really about it. You don't care about the fighters on Hunk. Tracker is basically just there to support Nomad again, just to make Nomad deal significantly more damage. She is going to have shooter heroes in her squad, and so use that to your advantage. And Nomad obviously is going to have shooter heroes, and he basically is just going to do a ton of damage. So how do we get around that? We use fighters. Tech Priestess is amazing against shooters. Generally speaking, shooters are going to be doing a lot of damage kind of pretty rapidly, especially this squad right here. So Nomad basic attacks, and then he has the chance to deal more damages based off his basic attacks. Tracker makes him do more basic attacks, and so Nomad will do more and more and more, right? So let's just say on average, Nomad every single round does 3 damages. Tech Priestess is going to heal 3 times on potentially all, like on any of the 3 squads. Canoness, she has a ton of heals. So even if Nomad is doing decent damage, Canoness is going to be able to heal a lot of that, which is very good as well. Glutton, same thing. He's going to be able to tank a lot of the damage. He will literally just take less damage. So if a shooter attacks a fighter, it's going to take less damage than if a vehicle attacks a fighter. That's just how it is. That's just how the game works. And as such, you can exploit that and kind of use that to your advantage. So combinations like I just mentioned, Tech Priestess, Canoness, Hummingbird. That's going to counter Hunk, Tracker, Nomad. Right? So use that to your advantage. And it pretty much goes along the same lines throughout. So Valkyrie and a Nomad. Same thing. Valkyrie and a Nomad's an interesting combo because it's really, really front-loaded damage. And then eventually that damage kind of falls off significantly, and it's just a little bit damage from there. So again, somebody who reduces early game damage is going to do very well. Somebody who can heal up that damage and who won't die through that damage is going to do very well. And then somebody who can just dish back, a decent portion would be nice. So somebody like Bird, right? So you can kind of look at Nomad. Any combination with Nomad's going to be the main damage dealer. Use fighters. Nomad's a little bit more one-dimensional than some of these other combos. So yeah, that's kind of that. Now, how would you defend? Let's say this is garrisoned in there, right? Kamikaze Heaven's Death Rider. So you have to look again at the heroes and then look at the composition. Kamikaze does a ton of heals. He has a lot of troop recovery. He's a vehicle hero. Decent damage, but it's mainly all about his troop recovery. Heaven's Redemption, more troop recovery. He has debuffs and buffs, but you can't really get around those. And CC, but again, you can't really get around that, so whatever. And then Death Rider, a vehicle hero who does a ton of damage, cannot be CC'd. He's immune. So we look at those heroes, we kind of consider, okay, what's going to beat that? There's a lot of troop recovery in this combo. There's also a lot of vehicles in this combo. We get people who counter that. Countdown, Wrath, etc. are going to counter that. But also, just knowing shooters counter vehicles, you can literally just use shooter combos. So Hunk, Tracker, Nomad, for example. If it's an even matchup, Hunk, Tracker, Nomad will win the majority of the time, 9 times out of 10. Sometimes you can get lucky and just win just because RNG is a thing in this game. If Hunk literally never confuses anybody, well, you're probably going to win. If Nomad's abilities never get activated, you're probably going to win. Right? So that's kind of how you need to think about countering. It does get a little bit harder when you consider mixed APCs. And that's why people run mixed APCs often. Right? Hunk is a fighter. Hunk is a fighter hero. So fighters versus fighters, not great. These are all vehicles, but you can do something like Gluttony, Kamikaze Death Rider. You have a fighter hero and then 2 vehicle heroes. So even if you send shooter heroes, you have that fighter hero who's going to block that. You'll oftentimes hear people saying full fighter combos suck, full shooter combos suck. They do most of the time. One, because it's very easy to counter. It won't really get through many APCs because the first time it runs into its counter, it's just going to lose. And 2, sometimes the compositions don't work, but let's say it's mostly about the counters. Something like this. Tech Priestess, Wrath, Hummingbird. This has every single type, every troop type. This is very hard to counter, but at the same time, very easy to counter. Right? Jack of all trades, master of none type of scenario here. You're going to have a hard time if you send shooters at this because Tech Priestess is going to counter a lot of that basic attack damage. You're going to have a hard time if you just send shooters because Wrath does a good amount of skill damage. And you're going to have a hard time if you send vehicles because Hummingbird shits on vehicles. Right, so that's kind of the theory behind lineups like this, like Tech Priestess, Wrath, Nomad. However, if you really just overload one of these conditions, then you can still probably win. So this combo can get beat by this combo, for example. Kamikaze Heaven's Death Rider can beat Tech, Wrath, Bird, just because it just does so much immediately that the fact that Hummingbird is in there doesn't really do too much for the cause. They're going to bust through Tech Priestess and they're going to bust through Wrath. Whether or not they kill Hummingbird, or Hummingbird kills them is kind of besides the fact, because at that point it's kind of a 1 versus 3. That's how it would appear on paper. Again, this is if you're same power versus same power. But if you're weaker than somebody who has a combination like this, if you're significantly weaker than somebody who has a combo like this, you are going to have a hard time countering it. It's every single troop type. What you really want is this combo right here. You need Death Rider to obstruct or to CC Hummingbird. So it becomes more than just kind of troop matchups and troop counters. It then becomes hero counters. So now let's talk about hero counters. So generally speaking, some heroes, oftentimes damage-focused heroes, are very susceptible to damage, and they're very susceptible to CC. Hummingbird being a great example of that. Now, if we go to Hummingbird's kit, she exceptionally falls into this case because of her 4th ability. She literally takes more damage. She has no CC prevention, no HP, no defensive stats really at all. She gets destroyed by Death Rider, more or less. If it's just a one-on-one matchup or something like that, she's going to get destroyed. Death Rider causes good damage to people, and he doesn't get CC'd by Bird, who Bird can CC. So, like I'm saying, he's just going to counter her. She takes so much damage. If she doesn't have support behind her, she just dies, and she has really, really long prep skills. So, again, she can just die. She also has no CC prevention, right? So a CC heavy hero can get her. Somebody like TP, somebody like Canon S has a lot CC. Heaven's Redemption has great CC. There's a lot of heroes with CC, but those are some of the kind of meta heroes. Again, will counter Bird. So Kamikaze Heaven's Death Rider does great against Bird. So sometimes you have to dig really deep. You have to go hero counters. Sometimes you have to go compositional counters, and sometimes you can just go troop counters. It's kind of, you really have to think about it. I'm sure there is a kind of hero formations guide that floats around from time to time that shows counters. It's not entirely accurate because oftentimes what you'll find is that you're not just considering countering one squad. So generally speaking, this would have 4 reinforcements or 5 reinforcements or something like that. You really have to look at, you kind of have to average it out, and you pretty much just have to aggregate, okay, how many squads is this going to counter? How many squads is this going to counter? How many squads is this going to counter? Or this is just for tiling, obviously, but you get the picture. Sometimes it just comes down to send your strongest APC. That's literally all you have to do. If you only have one Baneblade part, if it's all on these heroes, these heroes are all fully maxed, you're just gonna have to send this, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because it's far more powerful than your other APCs. The same can be said when you're getting attacked. And it's the same reason why you want to set up your defense queue in certain positions. It's based on counters. I have a video all about the defensive queue, so please check that out. But essentially, you want to look at what is going to counter this squad right here, their first squad, what will counter it, what will go through, and then counter that. So like I said, Kamikaze Heavens, Death Rider will get through this first APC. They're not going to get through Hunk Tracker Nomad. Generally speaking, if someone's much, much, much stronger than you, they're just going to get through. It's not much else to say. But you want to prepare for these situations anyway. So vehicles are going to get through here. Then you want to meet them up with fighters. If both get through here, then they probably have some interesting combo. I don't know, Tech Priestess Wrath, Death Rider, for example. That might get through. So then you want to send vehicles at them, right? Or some people run the combo of Glutton, Kamikaze, Death Rider, or something like that. The same thing. You would then want to send vehicles at them to get rid of that Glutton in front, and go on from there. And then it's the same thing. Like I said, this is just a weird ass combo. It generally, this combo is fighter heavy with Rose, but in any case. So that's kind of how you want to approach counters. It is very difficult. There's no real like cookie cutter setup, except for some of these top meta APCs that I've already given. So for example, this gets beat by Tech Priestess, generally just Tech Priestess combos, or like Tech Priestess Bird combos. So TP, Cannon, Bird, Glutton, TP, Bird, things like that. Wrath does pretty well against these combos, even though he is a vehicle unit. So you can pair up Wrath with these types of combos. You can do, TP, Cannon, Wrath, for example. For Kamikaze, Heavens, Death Rider, Hunk Tracker Nomad. Or really combos with Nomad. Or Bird will do pretty well against these. Generally speaking, Bird's going to go with 2 fighters, so this will still win. But you can do some interesting Bird combos with Tracker, for example. You can do something like TP Tracker Bird. That'll do fairly well against these vehicle combos. And then what does well against fighter combos? Pretty much everything. Full fighter combos going to suck. But combos, again, like TP Cannon Bird, you'd want to send vehicles at them. And then it's a full circle, right? It's a full circle. You're almost always going to get beat by somebody. Every single APC is going to get beat by somebody. And every single APC is going to beat somebody else. Eventually, we'll start seeing more and more of these 3-troop combos as more heroes get released. These 3-troop combos are really good because it's very hard to get through them. And you can also use these to bust log jams if you are just flat out stronger than somebody. So if you're like 15% stronger than another base, and you just send this first combo at them, you're going to get through a lot of them based on how much stronger you are, and the fact that it has very few like raw counters. So that's kind of what has to be said. You do, like I said, you do want to be sharing battle reports. It's very important to share battle reports, and it's very important to inspect those battle reports and kind of repurpose your APCs as needed. If Hunk Tracker Nomad is just getting absolute crapped on because they're only sending, TP Cannon Bird or something like that, then stop sending it and send this instead. Right? That's pretty much all there is to it. Oftentimes people are just going to waste a ton of durability because they're just sending the same exact formation at a dead wall. They're like, well, this is my right. Hunk Tracker Nomad's my strongest combo, so I need to just keep sending it. You're just killing yourself. You might as well just use a weaker vehicle formation, even something like the 3 Russians, for example, or the 3 ladies. It's probably going to do better than if you just keep sending Hunk Tracker Nomad over and over and over and over. So yeah, this was a pretty long video. I wasn't able to just cover every single meta APC. There's hundreds and hundreds of them, but for the most part, they're all using similar heroes, and I've kind of outlined how you want to go about it with some cookie cutter formations, but generally speaking, you need to look at that lineup, you need to look at that APC and kind of craft the counter around it. If there's a particular combo that you're like, I really have no idea how to counter this, please just let me know. I will be able to tell you, okay, use these heroes. If you don't have this, if you don't have Tracker, plug in a different hero and go from there. And yeah, but in any case, it does take a lot of kind of thought when you need to start countering heroes, and it's incredibly important. It's the reason why some people can do really well with bad heroes and bad stats. Not bad heroes more so, but like worse stats than you, and they can still beat you. And yeah, it's all about counters. Right now, it's all about counters. The game is 100% about counters. We'll see. Maybe that'll change. Maybe just a OP combo is going to come out that nobody can beat unless you mirror match it. That's actually the last point I want to make is mirroring to counter. So sometimes you literally won't have anything to counter. Let's say they just have Kamikaze Heaven's Death Rider in there. You don't have Nomad, for example. Your bird has like 2 copies, and you just have like a full like executioner. In those situations, your best bet is to just send the exact same combo. So Kamikaze Heaven's Death Rider, if it faces up against Kamikaze Heaven's Death Rider, one of you is going to lose, and then the next time, likely the other person is going to lose. So sometimes countering by mirroring is actually the best step that you can take. Again, it really just does depend. Not everybody has every single hero. And so oftentimes you will just counter by mirroring. So I'm glad I remembered that. That was a talking point that I wanted to say earlier, but hopefully you've stuck around long enough to hear that. So in any case, countering takes some thought. It takes theory crafting. It takes understanding the heroes and understanding the APCs. And if you don't understand the heroes or APCs, I recommend watching my channel. Okay, guys, that's about it. Hope you guys are having fun. Hope you guys are staying safe. The holidays are upon us. If you're traveling, be safe, please. If you're not, you can always hang out with me during Kill Event Reset this week. It's warm up, so some of y'all might be bored. But in any case, stay safe, stay having fun. Catch you guys later. Peace.